conspiracy theories about assassination attempts, but I guess that's too much to ask from The View. I mean, I gotta ask you, because they said it, are you aware of any plots from Elon Musk to push President Trump down the stairs?
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show.
So White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt announced that the Associated Press has been banned from the Oval Office for not honoring the recent renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Imagine thinking you're untouchable, only to get smacked down with a verbal eviction notice from Karoline Leavitt on live TV. That's exactly what happened to Whoopi Goldberg, whose latest meltdown could have made even a toddler jealous. Was it entertaining? Absolutely part tragic, part comedy, pure Shakespearean chaos. It all kicked off with one dramatic eye roll and spiraled into the funniest tantrum of the week.
Karoline Leavitt. The left pretends to be a champion of women until they find one who is a conservative. Once that happens, they love nothing more than tearing down women with the most petty and vacuous of insults. Leavitt appears to be a fierce operator, but she's also 27 and arguably quite glamorous. So of course, the kind and progressive voices at The View reacted to her appointment like this.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
It all began when Whoopi, with the smug confidence of someone who assumes being on television automatically makes her right, decided to lob a few random words at Karoline Leavitt. The problem? Whoopi's two lonely brain cells couldn't even process Leavitt's name without short-circuiting. She clearly thought it would be a mic drop moment, a casual drive-by roasting. Maybe in her mind, Karoline would rush to TikTok, weeping and begging for forgiveness. Spoiler, that didn't happen.
That type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at...
Instead, Whoopi ended up provoking a nasty one-sided public flogging so brutal it could have been declared a national holiday. Karoline wasn't just sitting there sipping coffee like some timid intern in the break room. No, she clapped back from afar with the precision of a Navy SEAL. Whoopi thought she was firing off a smug little shot, but all she really did was trigger an airstrike.
Young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework. Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason, because black people couldn't get...
The best part, Karoline didn't even have to step foot into that frantic, cackling, over-caffeinated hen house. She stayed cool from a distance, probably sipping iced coffee, and with one sorrowful reaction made the entire cast of The View look like they'd just been run over by a bus called reality. You could almost hear the rusty gears grinding in Whoopi's head as she realized she wasn't facing another gullible victim ready to fold under. The View's signature cocktail of fake outrage and empty whining. Karoline did what few have dared. She exposed the show for what it is, a cozy clubhouse, where richest millionaires cosplay as ordinary women while raging about things they don't even understand. And when Whoopi finally grasped, she wasn't getting the validation she craved, She unleashed what can only be described as a full-blown tantrum. It wasn't a meltdown so much as a symphony of stupidity, wild eyes, frantic hand flapping, and rambling nonsense that would have gotten anyone else escorted out.
So, the White House Correspondents Association released a statement, and it said the White House cannot dictate how news organizations report the news, nor should it penalize working journalists because it is unhappy with their editors' decisions. And the AP is signaling legal action, calling this a violation of their First Amendment rights. Now,
spitting out random phrases like a broken voice-to-text app. At one point, you half expected her to blurt, "Banana Republic, climate crisis, patriarchy." In a single desperate syllable, Joy Behar, the court jester of The View, tried to smooth things over with that awkward, nervous laugh people use when they realize they've just stepped on a rake. Sunny Hostin swooped in with a fact-check so wildly off it felt like listening to a GPS, insisting you turn left into the ocean. And Anna Navarro, she just sat there, stiff as a Madame Tussauds mannequin, her soul clearly buffering in real time, silently begging to be anywhere else. The real brilliance, though, was Karoline's absence. She didn't shout, didn't posture, didn't even give a smug side eye. Yet her very existence managed to blow up their fragile egos like a glitter bomb packed with shame. That's the poetry of it. Spend years building an echo chamber where everyone nods along, where hard questions are only lobbed at people you already despise, where dissent is treated like witchcraft, and then watch it all collapse, vaporized by a woman who wasn't even in the room.
We had him go to the Oval Office yesterday, where I think he provided great answers. He was speaking in layman's terms, speaking common sense to all of you in the media, but also to Americans at home. But I would say especially to all of you in the media, because I think it's a real fallacy that there's this alleged lack of transparency when it comes to Doge. President Trump and Elon Musk have been incredibly transparent on what Doge is doing. There is an X account with the Doge handle. They are tweeting out what they are doing on a daily basis. They have a website where they are posting the receipts of the contracts that they are reviewing and the payments that they have stopped from going out the door. The secretaries of our departments have stopped from going.
Single quotes S meltdown hit its peak when she suddenly swerved into warning the audience about the danger of Karoline's opinions, because apparently free speech is terrifying when it doesn't come pre-approved on a teleprompter. She leaned forward, threw in a dramatic hand gesture, and delivered that "let me educate you" stare that always precedes the most embarrassingly naive remark daytime TV has to offer. But instead of roaring applause, the room answered with a confused little clatter like a fourth-grade band kid dropping his trumpet in the middle of hot cross buns. The jig was up, and everyone knew it. Karoline, without raising her voice, delivered what may be the most calm, precise takedown in recent memory. No theatrics, no shrieking, just a sharp rebuke that stripped away The View's tired facade. That's what really stung. For years, smug millionaires have lectured working Americans about problems they helped create, believing a slice of pizza makes them relatable. Karoline didn't just take offense, she flipped on the stadium lights, and every cockroach in the building scattered, and the anguish of watching Whoopi cling to her dignity. Impossible to exaggerate. It was like watching someone argue with a GPS, insisting they know the way, or a cat trapped in a paper bag, pretending it's all part of the plan.
Conspiracy theories about assassination attempts, but I guess that's too much to ask from The View. I mean, I gotta ask you, because they said it, are you aware of any plots from Elon Musk to push President Trump down the stairs?
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on.
Whoopi actually seemed to think that tossing around big words would intimidate Karoline's side of the argument. Nothing screams "I'm winning" quite like shouting demagoguery with the misplaced confidence of a Jeopardy contestant who just hit the daily double in a category they've never heard of. Joy Behar then waddled in with her usual brand of intellectual depths, basically yelling, "You're wrong." With the sophistication of a toddler throwing a tantrum over being denied ice cream before dinner, Sunny tried citing studies she clearly hadn't read, from authors she couldn't name, on topics she didn't understand. Nice effort though. Somewhere, a community college debate coach shed a single, lonely tear. And then came Karoline. Her response wasn't even a direct insult, it didn't need to be, in one clean stroke. She exposed the crumbling foundation of The View. She said out loud what every rational adult has known for years. This show isn't a space for genuine conversation. It's a vanity project for people who peaked during the Bush administration and never updated their talking points. It isn't about empowering women, it's about empowering some women, specifically, Manhattan elites who sip $8 lattes while chanting the right. MANTRAS.
Walking into hostile territory, right?
Certainly do. And look, I think I'm well prepared for that, and I'm incredibly honored that President Trump has instilled confidence in me to speak on his behalf behind the White House podium. It's been an honor to have a front row seat to the greatest political comeback in history. And as you mentioned in your monologue, Sean, President Trump is putting together a brilliant cabinet of fantastic America First fighters, from Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are going to cut the waste out of our federal bureaucracy, to Susie Wiles, who is going to serve as the first female chief of staff in history. Take that, Mark Cuban, to Tom Homan. No one better to secure the border.
And it wasn't just the hosts caught in the spiral, it was the entire ecosystem. You'd think that sitting around a table nodding at each other counted as political involvement. Cue the limp applause, the coordinated gasps, and the endless self-congratulation after every segment. Whoopi's downfall wasn't a simple slip of the tongue. It was her blind faith in the illusion that her platform made her untouchable. She believed mocking Karoline would automatically rally her fan base. Instead, she came off like a fading reality TV contestant exposed for what she really is. Another overpaid celebrity clawing for relevance. Even the post-show spin was pathetic. Rather than admitting they'd been outmatched by someone with sharper arguments and significantly less Botox, The View's producers huddled together and churned out a limp PR statement dressed up as active debate. Translation: damage control. Meanwhile, Karoline remained unshaken. No sweaty monologues, no staged applause breaks, no shrill tirades. Just facts, logic, and a few perfectly placed jabs. The contrast was devastating. By the end, the hosts didn't just look outdated, they looked prehistoric. Howling at the sky, and accusing the lightning of being rude, like Neanderthals discovering fire for the first time.